Hello and welcome. Here we are again. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, which will be, at least for the time being, our standard time.
Yes.
And what are we going to talk about today? Emotions required. What the heck does that mean? I remember so well when I got my master's in counseling that it is so important that people connect with their emotions and that they are present with them and that they're really experiencing them. And if you listen to what other people are saying, it almost sounds like if you don't have emotions, then you are not a human, then you are something. But I don't know what that something is. And looking at how I have changed from really being present with my emotion or experiencing my emotion. And the emotions always get triggered by something outside. I mean, it's rarely that we are the ones who are triggering the emotion in us. We may trigger them in someone else. But the really interesting thing is while I was traveling this summer, I played with choosing to be happy. There was nothing that happened outside of me that made me happy. No, it truly was a choice. Okay, I don't quite like the the energy I'm in. Let's choose to be happy. And interestingly, every time I chose to be happy, the energy shifted and I actually became happy. Hmm.
Mm.
So it's not quite necessary that there are outside events that trigger our emotions.
Yeah.
Do you have any experience with that, Marianne?
Oh, Karina, where to start? where, where to start? As though it's quite similar for me in the past, as feelings and emotions were really important during my job that I did in the past. Also, it was about going into the feelings. You have really going through them to understand what is happening, and then you
Mm,
can give it a place,
yeah.
etc., etc. So, but something else triggered me also when you were speaking towards the choice, that you made a choice to be happy, to choose the happiness, to choice, to choose the happiness.
Hmm.
And it is. And that choosing happiness, that it is only a choice, a way to be happy. It took me quite a time to get what it really was, as though I made some appointment with myself and happiness towards also, yes, what if I choose it? So similarly, I made also the choice to go with whatever it is, I'm going to choose happiness. Nevertheless, I experience it a little different because I am different. So in a way, as often I can wake up, still can wake up as it's not a sadness, but a heaviness, a kind of heaviness. And then I'm asking, is this really mine? What can I choose different here? So if it's not mine and I don't require to go along all day long with this heavy
Hmm.
feeling because it's a feeling, then I can choose something different. And then going with, yes, but I'm choosing happiness. It's not that it is in an instant that I'm happy, 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 but noticing when you choose something different, that there is a shift in the energy.
Yeah.
And that starts to open up something. As though also when listening to you, what came up was that causes outside, or the emotions we choose to go with, is caused by something outside of us
Mhm.
that we judge or that we define
Yeah.
or include. So it is something that we do with what is happening, although it's not ours. And do we do that of
Yeah.
belonging to, of the idea, when I have emotions about this or that, the situation, then I am human, then I am normal, then I fit in this reality because it's required in that case, in that situation, to have this and this emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that is during, yeah, my life. Often was it clear that I often chose something different or going different with something else. Yes, some choosing something else with, for example, death. When there is someone dying, this reality prescribes that you have to be sad, you have to be down, you yeah, you aren't allowed really to be happy, to have a laughter, to that is this reality. Nevertheless, how much joy is and can there be in passing over as in that, as choosing something different.
Mhm.
So I know you have also several experience there. Can you share something around that?
Yeah, I can. One instance for is uh, I saw my grandmother and during a visit in Germany, and she was sort of telling, life is not that much fun anymore. I've lived through 2 world wars. She was having issues with hearing, but she was an avid reader. And she
Mm,
even wrote stories. I have collections of stories that she wrote. And she said, is my eyesight is giving out. And so she can't read anymore. And so the life became smaller and smaller for her. She couldn't travel as much anymore as she used to. And so she said, I guess I'm done. And then the following year, I got the notice from my parents that she had passed, and she had uh, a stroke, and they found her and revived her. And then the next day, since she was in an assisted living, she stayed home, so to speak.
yeah,
And the next day, she had another stroke, and she had learned what not to do or what to do. And that was it. And my response, instead of being sad, was, great going, Grandma. You got what you wanted.
yeah,
And I was celebrating uh, her death, so to
yeah,
speak. There was no sadness. And yeah, there are the fond memories that you have. And as a kid growing up, when my parents went on vacation, Grandma was always the one who would babysit us, so to speak. And I always looked forward to those times because the meals were different, the energy in the house was different, everything. It was just much more fun with
yeah,
Grandma. And so I was really happy for her to have been able to create what she wanted.
Yeah.
And that is, according to this reality, that's a total wrongness. You do not celebrate someone's death.
Yeah. And can I add something about that? This to this, as not that long ago, it's nearly 12 years now ago, my husband died in a car accident and he died immediately. I couldn't, yeah, I didn't saw him anymore because I wasn't allowed because of the way he was looking. He was not recognizable. But going with emotions, clearly that hit at me right in the face. It was 360 degrees turning around my life because, so there was that sadness, there were the tears. Of course, it was of the shock.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also, in a way, at that time, I wouldn't say a celebration, but so much respect and knowing that it went along with what he was longing for, because there was some longing to not stay longer in this body that he had. He
Mm-hmm.
did spoke about it, so it was a knowing. So in that case, when it happened, it was also, oh, wow, that is quite a creation you did here.
Right.
And he went straight away, so there was no suffering, there was not a long way to go. So great creation. Did it hurt? Yes, because of the loving and the care and everything there was between towards him, my husband. And there were a lot of tears. And I noticed even that for a week, a whole week, my body wasn't functioning from the sadness, from the intensity of what that brought into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then turning around, and it was, I can't say that I cognitively chose for happiness at that time. What I know is that I chose at that time to be and receiving, the good out of it. I can't say it in another way. It was like, this is happening also. This can bring me something greater also, not only less, but greater. And I was looking towards what is there right about this that I'm not yet getting. And indeed, it opened up so much more doors that if he would lift still, I wouldn't even thought about it to knock on those doors and to open them.
God
So
bless
it
you.
opened so much more. And yes, in several weeks, months, even years later, I could tear up still. And there is a difference between emotions that take you in, that drown you down because of the judgments and the conclusions and etc., than allowing the process to heal of that shock, to heal of that pain, to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm telling it now, I'm questioning, is in a way emotion something, what do we suppress, what do we cover when we choose emotions?
Good.
What do we
Yeah.
cover?
Good question. I mean, I know for one thing that if we are really angry, anger is not allowed, and especially not in a woman, to be
Oh
really
yes,
angry.
yeah.
And then we switch to sadness. We become sad. But underneath, there is this seething anger, that suppressed anger, that anger that is almost like, I want to kill kind of intensity of
Yeah.
anger.
Yeah.
And so, how much are we unconsciously choosing emotions? If somebody calls me a name, I'm supposed to be hurt. If somebody does this, then I'm supposed to be. And how much is that autopilot actually helpful
Yeah.
for us to become aware, to be aware, versus to just drown out something that
Yeah.
is going on and stopping us
Yeah.
from becoming aware?
Yeah, and this matches really the energy that the last days I hear people talking about. Oh, I sense so sad, and for everything and anything, I can start to cry, and I'm not sure what it is, etc., etc., etc. Going along now with what is happening in the world, what are the emotions that people are choosing? Is it the anger of going against and fighting and
Being
reacting?
done with.
That, as there is a lot of change going on, but is also here choosing for emotions. Never, it doesn't matter what emotion you are choosing. Is it the anger? Is it the sadness? Is it the love? Because how much is love? And in the name of love, also choosing an emotion of
Yeah,
justifying or rectification of the care.
yeah,
And is it true care? And does that allow true change? Or is it covering up what is already changed? And I don't want to see it. So I'm going to put it in the light and I'm going to give it love. And then it will turn back into whatever, or it will calm down, or it will all comes well. In the name of love,
yeah,
everything becomes good. And yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And uh, what you said is just, it really requires a tremendous amount of courage to be present with what is
yeah,
and to acknowledge that, no matter what it is,
yeah,
you know. And how much are we feeling uncomfortable doing that? And so we go on autopilot and say, okay, I'll be this, that, or the other from an emotional perspective, because I feel comfortable with that particular emotion. And
wow, yeah,
another question that just saying this just brought it up, I feel comfortable. How much do we feel comfortable with certain emotions because we grew up with them? Our parents were depressed. Our parents were penurious. Our parents were, you name it, you
yeah,
know. But that is what I, as a child, am comfortable with. And I can sort of sense that emotion 1,000 miles away.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
vibe that I am so familiar with that, oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And,
go along, go along.
and how much does that actually limit who we can be and what we
Yeah,
can be?
yeah. Yeah, as I remember myself now, and I really got it, like that emotion growing up with. One of the emotions, yeah, was that in the name of love, as the anger wasn't allowed, because in the
Mhm.
name of love, anger doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I can remember when hearing, even in the street or where I was, fighting people with words, a fight with words. It's not more than that, only a fight with words. my body was shaking as though it's not right. It's not right. And I know there was that, how do you call it? Stop and fight or run. How do you call that?
Flight
That
and flight.
reaction.
Fight and or flight.
Fight or flight. That is it. So I flight because I
Your flight,
run. I
yeah.
turned away from it and I run. But now with what you are saying is as a sudden so clear as my mother especially suppressed her potency so much, and all in the name of love. And
Mhm.
this is also what took me a long way to recognize how much I copied that behavior as not allowing
Yeah.
potency, as not allowing the anger, as the anger was that a suppressed potency.
And how much is the idea, the concept that nobody is bad? They may act bad because they've been hurt or whatever the reason
Wow, yes.
is that not allowing us to see what actually is. Sadly enough, there are people who enjoy being mean, who
Yeah,
enjoy being selfish and basically have the attitude to hell with everybody else.
yeah.
And for them, it doesn't require a second thought that, oh, my actions might be hurting somebody.
Yeah, and even with that, Karina, how much does it happen that people choose to go into emotions when there is such behavior? Because also there is a knowing. Somehow there is
Yeah.
that goodness also in that person. It is, but when they don't choose it, they don't choose it. No matter what, you can be aware of it, but they don't choose it. So, and how much do people choose emotions instead of being present, trusting what they are perceiving and knowing and choosing something different and go on and create their lives?
That, yes. And that just brings up a memory of a very recent conversation that I had where I would say the old saying, attack is the best defense.
And is that true?
Yeah, because you don't expect an attack maybe from that person. And so you sort of do this and they continue steamrolling over you, and the conversation is done.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so it's really how much can we like stop being baffled by someone who is attacking us?
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be attacking us as a person, just attacking a viewpoint.
Yeah.
You know,
And what if it never is about you as a person?
that on top of it, don't take, I mean, I know it's true, and I've read ages ago with Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements. Don't take anything personal because the person only sees you through their lens, how
Yeah,
they would like you to be.
yeah,
Has nothing to do with who you actually are.
yeah. And that's such a key point to really recognize that and acknowledging that
Yeah.
it's never about you, as it is through the filters of the ones who attack or whatever they do. It's always through the filters of the other person, as though we act also through our filters towards other people. We do it also. And it is when you are allowing yourself to be present and questioning, is it really true what I think about that person?
Yep.
Or is this, from my point of view, how I see the things, due to what are my conclusions, what are my definitions, what are my judgments?
And that is very true, that mostly what we, let's say, criticize in somebody else is what we actually criticize in ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what came up a little before was also emotions. As do we use emotions to cover? Yes, we went through that. And do we also use emotions to blind ourselves of the choice we have and putting it outside of us and throwing it to someone else to get what we want,
Yeah.
but giving it to them? Yeah,
They didn't
yeah,
allow me to make that choice
yeah.
because they
And not
were,
only that, if I want my partner or my children to do something for me, I can use also emotions and going into, yeah, the sadness, and you are not doing this for me, and I did such and such for you, so yeah, and you are my son or you are my daughter. How much does that happen? Really going and choosing emotions to throw all responsibilities and all choices out of your own ring and
I
put it
mean,
on the other side.
let's be honest. Haven't we grown up with that? Oh, what you did just made mommy or daddy sad.
Yes, 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 yes.
It
As
was
you were
their,
the responsible, yeah, you were responsible for the feelings of the other.
their
Yes,
emotions. And are we responsible for it? Or are we choosing? Are we choosing according to the standards of this reality? If somebody does A, then you're supposed to feel B.
yeah,
Or can somebody do work? And that is true for me often today, not always, but often. Uh, can I have a choice to choose something different? Do I need to go into the trauma and drama and all the upheaval, etc., or can I choose something else?
and that is so true. We always have choice. We
Yeah.
always have choice, always. And Karine, when you are choosing something different than the majority around you about a situation, do you receive judgments of them? Yes, they throw a
Oh,
lot.
yes. Yes.
So there comes in also what do you choose with that? Is it an interesting point of view they have throwing out over you, and it's not about you, it's not about your choices? And do you receive them? Or what do you choose there? Because I know for me in the past I could choose something different, but then somehow the judgment that came in, I made them bigger, so I turned my choice around again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, and let's be honest. What is judgment actually? Judgment is nothing else but a point of view that somebody has of you.
yeah,
Nothing more, nothing less. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with truth. And how much are
exactly.
we entrained to, if somebody is judging me, oh, I must perceive myself wrongly because they, judging me, perceive me rightly.
Yeah, and that is,
Excuse
yeah,
me?
excuse me, but that is, we make judgment
Yeah,
right. and
Yeah.
ourselves wrong. Yeah, yeah, so much, so much. And even when it's judged and we know our truth with that point of view of the other, do we receive it or do we still react on it? Are we gonna defend it? So we are throwing back and we keep going, as though when we truly choose something different, then the charge is gone. Then we can receive everything is coming towards us due to that different choice.
Yeah.
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 And then
So
I think what I want to say is, how much does the judgment put us into doubting ourselves?
oh yes.
If we stop doubting ourselves, judgment has no impact at all.
So true, Karina. So true. So true. Judgment is really putting ourselves, or we choose to put ourselves in doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So is that also what's happening now for so many people? As though did they think by choosing something different that as a sudden everything would be gone and normal again? As though it is going and on some in some places, some lands, it's going quite heavier and even intenser, as going down with emotions, as covering up their thoughts of giving up, giving in, as not trusting any longer, as starting to doubt that it will be possible. Is it ever possible that it will be different? Are many people now even more in doubt?
Um, my sense is that more people are beginning to doubt what I call the party line, the official line.
Yeah.
And there is a increase in conviction about the truth of the party line also at the same time.
Yeah. And are those two fighting against each
Yeah.
other? Yeah.
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 So there we have it again.
Because,
Emotion.
because fighting isn't fighting what one does if
Yeah.
the others are wrong. I
Yeah.
have to fight them.
Yeah. And that keeps also the emotions going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And in the beginning of coming out of feelings and emotions, there was something in my world questioning about the, am I cold then? Am I becoming cold? Am I becoming indifferent? What is this? What is this? And you know what I discovered for myself? I cannot speak for others. I can only speak for myself. It was, I became more clear about what true care really is,
Yeah.
about what love, if we can
Really.
say it also, really is,
Yeah.
without the judgments
Yeah.
and without any definition also, and structures and forms and etc. So it opened up so much more, as functioning from emotions is also functioning from a really small place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's not, sometimes, depending on the situation, it's not that easy to allow the other a freedom of choice. You would
Wow,
like,
this,
because of what, I'm just my situation. I would like certain things to happen in regards to my kids. And what am I going to do if they are not choosing that? Am I going to be in allowance of it is your life and therefore it's based on your choices?
and here you mentioned something really that is important for so many people. Is it more ease to choose allowance when it's a little more in distance of yourself, as there is not that emotional contact? As do we, because what is avoiding your allowance with children, with your own children, is that the emotions we have towards them that keeps us in that in between.
I really don't have an answer for that.
It's something that came up for me as though I know what you're speaking about, and it was, and it was the same with my children. But that's the question I'm having now. So, as going or letting go emotions, is it truly something I already chose towards my children, or do I use their still emotions
And
somehow?
I have to say, is a certain situations are totally different. I've been in the situation where I kept my mouth shut, and yeah, it might have messed up a life, but right now, what plays into is the possibility of death.
Yeah, yeah.
And that shifts it for me a little bit. And it's a bigger struggle to keep my mouth shut and be in allowance of whatever they choose.
Yeah. And is that shift because it's yeah, that is coming in also. That's not the death. That is coming in also, that somehow is that emotional involvement. Because what is this with our children? Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, Karina, but
And
there is a
I
perceiving
mean,
somehow for me with emotion. For
what
me,
came up for me is that as mothers, both of us, we care about our children. We would like the best, we wish the best for the best.
yeah,
And saying that, how much is wishing for the best already conclusion and judgment?
yeah, yeah,
And that sticks us then to be in uh, to let go of that and be in allowance.
yeah, yeah. And for now, I can say I am in allowance. And is that true? As I noticed that every minute or second that there is an opening or a possibility to go to them, how would I say it? To convince them or
I
to
even
knock on
simply
their
drop a
doors?
hint.
Yeah, yeah, but is that still from not being in allowance?
Yeah.
Yeah, Oh, yeah. And there comes in the refined energies, as we so often speak to. We can let go of big,
Yeah,
the big part,
the
and then it
blocky,
starts.
but then the
And then the
minute
refined.
stuff, the
Yeah,
minute stuff
there
is,
it starts. And in that layer, do we play with emotions? How is our children now? That's only a question, and I will sit with it for myself and go
yeah,
along and asking questions. So yeah,
yeah, no.
yeah,
And
it catches me because I know that there was some, and I said something to one of my children, and this time it was not, I didn't have a calculation or a projection or an expectation. I threw it in the ring, in his ring, and yes, it came out that it chose something different. So I'm really happy. But speaking to this now, it brings in me to become aware of, am I truly, truly in allowance?
and what I just want to make the listeners aware of, are you noticing that we have it all licked? We don't struggle with it. It's totally clear for us. Or
Yes,
just that fact that we sit with the questions and look at it and keep looking at it. And yes, in some areas it gets easier, and in others it's still the same old mess. That it's okay.
yeah,
That it is just an invitation to look at something and make your own decisions for
yeah.
your own life.
And it is okay, Karina, as you mentioned, it's not wrong. It's
Yeah.
never wrong what you are choosing. It is being aware, question it, and what else can you choose? What else is possible?
What do you, and you know, something else you might choose tomorrow. You might choose something else than you choose today.
Also,
That's also a possibility.
yeah,
So really to be present with it and explore, and that's part of why we call renamed our Facebook Live to exploration, but or exploring, because that's where it's at.
yeah. And what contribution can it be for the listeners, Karina, that we facilitate in a way all ourselves, as we did
Yeah.
a second ago, as yeah, letting them know, as you mentioned, it's not because we speak to it that we all have it right and done. It's
Yeah.
an ongoing thing also for us. And I personally love to share, even if it is not perfect, even it is saying
Mhm.
something, yeah, I'm still not really clear about this or this. I'm still questioning it also. What is there more to explore? What is there else to choose? So, yeah,
Yep.
that's the beauty
Exactly.
and the magic, perhaps.
Yeah.
Not sure.
So, so we'll say goodbye for today, and we'll
We
see
will.
what we cook up for next week. I have
Let's
no
see.
clue, but we'll always find something to talk about.
For
So,
sure, we find
and
something.
I don't know, this just came in. A question for you, listeners. Does nature have emotions? Does the tree in the fall weep because the leaves are falling?
And what comes up now for me is also a question for the listeners. Are animals choosing emotions? Or could it be that they call us people upon as emotions, as letting us know, what do you choose here?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something different?
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yep. Okay.
So thank you, Karina. Great chat we had again, and we will meet next week.
Next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.